Hi, kindergarten. Today we're going to continue to learn about the Pilgrims, and today's story is called 1942. I wonder what those numbers mean. We'll have to see. All right, so our vocabulary words today are crews. Now, crews are groups of people who work together. So a ship's crew might work together to sail somewhere. A crew of construction men, like you see in the picture, work together to build different things. There are a lot of different crews. Our next word is expedition. An expedition is a journey by a group of people for a special reason. So scientists went on an expedition deep into the rainforest to study new types of plants. There are a lot of different expeditions we could do. Next, we have rulers. We already know this one because rulers are leaders in charge of a country or land, like kings and queens, like King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. Our last word is shore. Shore is the land at the edge of a body of water. So if you look at this picture, you can see the shore right here. It's right along the edge of that water. All right, so here we see our regular map. Okay, this is our map of the world. We have our continents: North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Antarctica, Australia. Now, in our story that we've been learning about, people in Europe are trying to get over here to Asia, but they don't really know how to do it very well. Some people want to go all the way around the continent of Africa to go over this way, but they're nervous. They've never done that, and they're worried that there could be sea monsters down here. Christopher Columbus wants to go west, this way. He thinks that if he keeps going this way, he'll get all the way around to Asia, but I think he's missing some information. We'll have to wait and see. So, as we continue to learn all about what's going on, I want you to always think about our map that shows us Europe, Italy right here, and we've been talking about Spain, which is over here. And I want you to remember, do you remember why people wanted to go to Asia hundreds of years ago? What kinds of things were people like families of Giovanni and Sophia looking for? What were they seeking? Yup, you remember. They want gold, beautiful cloth, and spices to make their food taste better. Now, why could Europeans not go to Asia by land? You're right. The land route was closed. Constantinople was saying, nope, you can't cross through here. No, thank you. So they had to figure out a different way to get to Asia. Now remember, many European navigators wanted to sail by ship around Africa to get to the Indies, but we have Europe over here, we have Africa here, and we have Asia here. See, it would make sense to just go on land, but instead they might have to go this long route around other continents. Now remember, many kings and queens told Christopher Columbus, no way, because Christopher Columbus had a different idea of going west. He didn't want to sail around Africa. He thought it would be better to just go west to get to Asia. He thought the only thing between those two continents was water. He really wanted to go this way, and he thought he could just go around the globe to get over here. Very interesting. I wonder what's going to happen. Remember, some of the continents had not been discovered yet by people from Europe in Christopher Columbus's time. And he really thought there was only ocean over there. I think he might encounter some problems over here. And remember, back in this time, traveling by ship was really difficult and really expensive, which is why he had to ask the king and the queen, who at first said no, to give him the money to sail. And then finally, Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain said okay. All right, are you all ready to read? Remember, even though Christopher Columbus now had the support of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, his idea was still very difficult for anyone to believe. So you're going to listen carefully to find out how the journey into the unknown, so a new area, turned out. Okay, here we go. Ferdinand is right here, and then we have the Queen and the King he's saying goodbye to. The year was 1492. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, the rulers of Spain, provided Christopher Columbus with 3 ships. They gave him money to pay for crews, those are the men working on the ship, to sail them, plus food and water for the long voyage. Columbus was set to sail his fleet toward the Indies. There he would trade European goods for rare spices, gold, and other treasures that the king and queen desired. So they're going to take some stuff with them to trade for different spices and things. Okay? It's important. Now, Columbus's 3 ships had names: the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. Can you find the smallest ship in the picture? That one is the Niña. Then the middle-sized one, the Pinta, was the fastest one of the 3. Columbus chose to sail on the biggest, the largest ship, the 120-foot-long Santa Maria, or Saint Mary. Okay? It's pretty big. It's way bigger than our classroom. Now, he was very proud of all 3 vessels, and he wanted his voyage to succeed. So he was determined to choose the best sailors that he could find in all of Spain. So he wanted the best people working on his ship. Now this place right here is what Columbus imagined he and his crew would see when they arrived to the Indies. So he thought that this is what Asia looked like. Columbus was confident that he could attract the men he needed and convince them to go on the voyage. True, he had to paint word pictures, so he had to describe them, of warm, beautiful lands where gold and rare spices were so common that a person could hardly avoid tripping over them. He suggested, without actually promising, that his crew would return to Spain so rich they could all live in grand homes, wear fine clothing. Another thing he told them was quite true. Queen Isabella had offered a huge cash reward, so a lot of money, to the first person who sighted the Indies. Perhaps it was this offer that was most convincing to all of the sailors. One by one, Columbus found his men, and they agreed to join his expedition. At last, everyone and everything was ready. On August 3rd, 1492, the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria sailed out of their Spanish harbor, bound for a possible fortune in the Indies. The sailors were proud and excited. Now, look, they're getting on a teeny tiny boat, but that boat is only to get them over here to their big ship. Okay, so they're using this little boat to get to their big ship. But when they passed the last familiar lands, the Canary Islands, and found themselves in open sea, out of sight of any land, their excitement began to turn to uncertainty and then to fear. Columbus tried to calm their fears. Both Columbus and the crew were feeling less safe the longer they sailed in the open sea. As days passed, and then weeks, Columbus's reassurance were no longer enough to keep the crew from becoming seriously frightened. Imagine you're on a boat, and every direction you look, you only see water for weeks. What do you think they're afraid of? It's really scary. They can't communicate or talk with anyone. They didn't have cell phones. They're on a boat in the middle of the water. It's really scary. Days and days and long nights passed. The Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria had been sailing westward, out at sea for weeks now. They had entered a part of the ocean in which long, thick seaweed covered the surface in every direction, as far as the eye could see. Ooh, seaweed everywhere. This is a good sign, Columbus thought. It may mean we're nearing land. Maybe that means the water's getting shallower? I don't know. But then the winds died down to nearly nothing, and the sails hung lifeless from the masts. The three ships crept forward and sometimes stopped moving altogether. Each day was like the one before, and Columbus and the sailors wondered, how will we ever get out of the seaweed? Will the winds ever change and come back to us? Because they need the wind to blow them forward. At last, after days and days, the wind picked up again, and they sailed free of the clinging seaweed and back into the open sea. Still, the sailors worried, and they no longer bothered to hide their doubts to Columbus. When will we find the lands you promised us? They asked. Soon, he told them, trying to look confident. Soon we'll get there. Does Columbus know? Absolutely not. But as he said this, Columbus too had his own doubts. Uh-oh. But the sailors were tired of sailing and were losing hope. They came to Columbus one day and begged him to turn around the ship. Give me 3 more days, he said. If we have not seen land by then, we will turn around. But the days passed with no sign of progress. Then, on the 3rd day, a sailor called out, "There's something floating in the water up ahead." "Fish it up out of the water," Columbus ordered. Some sailors tossed a net over the side and drew up the object. "It's a stick," cried one of the sailors. It looked as if someone's carved its sides with a knife. "That must mean there's land ahead, and someone is living there," the others said excitedly. Why do you think a carved stick is a sign of land? I guess, where did the stick come from? The next day, several sailors saw branches with green leaves floating on the surface of the water. Then the crews of all 3 ships saw a large flock of land birds flying overhead. "We must be getting close to land," the men cried with great excitement. The birds circled above them as if examining the 3 ships, then turned back in the direction from which they had come. "Follow them," Columbus ordered. "The birds will lead us to land." Soon the salty breeze began to carry a new scent their way. Could we be smelling the spices of Asia up ahead? The new sailors asked one another, growing more and more excited. But still, they saw no land. On the evening of Thursday, October 11th, Columbus ordered the ships to drop anchor, something they had not done in the entire voyage. If we really are close to land, he thought, we might be carried by the current up against the shore in the darkness and never know until it's too late. Too late for what? That night, walking on the deck of the Santa Maria, he saw a light in the distance. It is too far away to be coming from the Pinta, he thought, knowing that the ship was anchored farther ahead of his own. And the light is too low in the sky to be a star. It must be a fire set by some human beings on a shore up ahead. A few hours later, in the early morning hours of October 12th, 1492, Columbus heard the sounds of a cannon. It's coming from the Pinta, he thought. They must have sighted land. Waiting impatiently as the early light of dawn increased, he stared ahead until he saw what the sailors on board the Pinta had seen, a long, low shore on which the ocean waves were smoothly breaking. The men of the Pinta were cheering, and a moment later, cheering broke out aboard the Nina and Santa Maria too. Dressed formally or nicely, they dressed up for the occasion, and carrying a long flagpole bearing the flag of Spain, Columbus and some of his men rowed over the waves in a small boat to the shore of this new land. Stepping out into the water, Columbus and the sailors stepped ashore. By his calculations, Columbus believed they landed on the continent of Asia in the Indies. Then he plunged the flagpole into the sandy shore and said, "On behalf of their majesties, I, Christopher Columbus, claim this land and all that it is in it for Spain." Now, we're going to talk about this a lot tomorrow, but can you just walk on land and say that all of a sudden it's yours? Does he know anything about where he is? Is it okay for him to say, "Hey, I got here, just landed off my ship, now it's mine"? I don't know about that. Click on the exit ticket below. We're going to talk a lot about this tomorrow.